Hey there, and welcome to the first show of What's Your Take, or as I like to call it, WYT. And let's get to the first segment here. And the first segment is, what's your why? And today we're going to talk about what's my why for starting this sports talk show. So first off, I started this sports talk show because obviously I like to talk about sports. I could talk about sports all day long. I just love talking about sports, games, players, what people's passions are for sports. I also like to talk to people, like athletes, and talk to people about why they started playing basketball, football, or baseball, and the struggles they went through of trying to learn that sport, or trying to reach their goals and dreams in those sports. But I also like to talk to people that maybe aren't, athletes, but they just love sports, and they're like me, and they can watch sports all day long. And we all have that connection in sports. If we love sports, there's some connection we have, whether it's playing or watching. There's like some moment in your lifetime where you were like, man, that just really had an impact on my life. And that's why I love to play basketball or watch baseball or follow a certain player. Like for me, what got me into the NBA was Kevin Garnett. This poster right behind me is the first NBA poster I ever bought, and that's kind of how I started to follow players in the NBA. Was I started to follow Kevin Garnett when he played for the Timberwolves, and now I'm a big NBA fan. Nebraska football is a reason why I liked college football. I follow Duke basketball and Nebraska basketball, so we all have those connections in sports that, for some reason, we love to play a sport or love to watch a sport or a team or follow a player. We all have that connection that brings us together in sports. And another reason why I think I love sports and love to talk about sports is I would always watch sports talk shows on ESPN or Fox Sports or wherever sports network I could find a good sports talk show. I would always watch them. And whether I was watching sports or watching a sports talk show, whenever I was going through like a tough time in my life, there was those 1 to 2 hours where I could forget about those struggles I had and just get myself involved in sports and really dive into a game or listen to a sports talk show. And I think sports in general, it just takes us away from real life stuff, and we can go for an hour or two and just forget about our struggles and, just relax and get involved and fall in love with sports. So that's a little bit on what my why for starting this sports talk show. Maybe you can tune in and forget about your life struggles and just listen to a sports talk show by a guy who is passionate about sports and loves to talk about sports. So let's get into the main thing is what's your take, the name of the show. And my take today is on the Phoenix Suns and Los Angeles Clippers series. So Paul George, he scored 27 points the other night, and the Clippers were able to get out a win. But you know what bugs me about the Clippers? Is why do they wait till Game 3 to show up and either close out the game in a big moment or to start playing well? They've been down 0-2 like almost every series this entire playoffs. Why don't you show up in Game 1 and 2 and win those games? Now, I want the Suns to win the series. I got the Suns in 7, and I think they'll pull it out. But I don't understand why the Clippers, they don't show up until like Game 3. They should have had Game 2. Paul George, for those who don't think he has a clutch gene, well, that was a good game for them. And because he missed those 2 free throws, and you got to make those free throws, man. And that really cost him the game, I think, at the end. But, we can't take away from DeAndre Ayton's amazing alley-oop play. I did not expect them to run an alley-oop to Ayton. I thought maybe they'd somehow free Devin Booker off a screen, and he'd shoot at the buzzer and try to get it off in .8. But just like everyone else, I was shocked when it happened, that alley-oop play. it happened so quick. I was like, what? What just happened? I gotta see the replay. Like, I couldn't believe that they ran that play. And Aiden did it so quick, it was like over in a second. So, but Aiden's been playing really well this series. He's averaging 16.5 points per game and 10.6 rebounds for the series right now. And he's really been coming into his own. I always thought Aiden was a good player. You know, he's the #1 pick, and I didn't really think it was Hall of Fame status yet. But, I mean, he just kind of started his career. But he's really stepping up, especially in this Clippers series, and putting up a double-double. As for Booker, he did really well. Scored 40 points in Game 1, 20 points in Game 2, but only 15 points in Game 3. To me, it just looked like he couldn't really get it going. He couldn't really find a rhythm for the game, and his shot just wasn't there. But I don't think Devin Booker is a star. I think he's a superstar. And I think he'll come through in Game 4 tonight and score like 30 points. Because, yeah, we've seen superstars in the past, like, you know, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, guys like those, all NBA history. Yeah, maybe they'll have one bad game, but in the end, they come through. And I think Devin Booker, you know, he had one bad game, but he'll rebound tonight and have a really good game. You know, he only's been shooting like 31% when he scored those 20 points, and he shot 24% the other night with 15. But I think his shooting average will come up, and he shot 52% or almost 52% in Game 1 with those 40 points. And you got to expect guys like Booker, you know, yeah, they had one bad game, but I think he'll have, my stat line for him is, like I said, 30 points. If I had to guess, I think he's got 12 rebounds and 10 assists, not 12 assists. Now for Chris Paul, yeah, it's his first game back, guys. You know, he didn't play that well either. Shot okay, shot 5 for 9 from the field. Had 12 assists. So 5 for 9, 12 assists. I think he does, that's what he does best, is he gets his teammates involved, and he's never leaves doubt that he's going to help the team win by getting his teammates involved. So he did that in Game 3, but I just think he was, you know, kind of not pushing the ball like he usually does, and just kind of seemed like Devin Booker just couldn't find a flow for the game. But like Chris Paul's an all-time, like Devin Booker, like Devin Booker, Chris Paul is an all-time point guard, and he's a superstar. I think he'll come through and, you know, give him this game maybe, but by this game, Game 4, definitely Game 5. I'd be surprised by Game 5 if he didn't get back to his old self, but let him get back into it and give him a game or two. And Chris Paul's going to come through, man. He's going to help his team win, just like he's helped him in the last round, where in the final game of the series he dropped like 27. So I think the Suns, yeah, they had a bad game, but I got the Suns tonight going up 3-1 against the Clippers. I think it really hurts the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard out. You don't have that offensive and defensive force in there. And Paul George is good, man. I mean, he's been dropping some big numbers, 36 a couple games ago in the last series, but I just think that the Suns, man, they got better team chemistry. And team chemistry is a huge deal. The Clippers, yeah, they all play together now, but during the season, they were sitting out games, guys getting hurt, and now in the playoffs, you're just going to put it together? Man, you got to put it together during the season so that when the playoffs come around, you're ready to go, and you already have that chemistry. And that's what the Suns have. They have better team chemistry, I believe, than the Clippers do. So the last thing on this show we're going to do is, I love sports history. And we're going to have this segment called Sports History Lesson with Wyatt Spalding. So, in 1988, on June 25th, which was yesterday, Cal Ripken had his 1,000th consecutive career game start against the Red Sox. Unfortunately, they lost that game, but Cal Ripken is known as playing the most consecutive games in MLB. Another thing that happened today on June 26th, the Cal Ripken thing happened on June 25th, but in 1970, Frank Robinson hit 2 grand slams in a game as the Baltimore Orioles beat the Washington Senators 12-2. 2 grand slams, man. That's pretty good. And then in 1996, on June 26th, the NBA draft happened, and you had guys like Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Stephon Marbury, Ray Allen, Marcus Camby get drafted. That's one of the greatest NBA draft classes of all time. And also on June 26th, yet another Hall of Fame draft class get drafted. 2003 draft class, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and Chris Bosh. So that's it for the first show today. Tune in. I'll try to do like 1 to 2 shows a week. Eventually I'll have some guests on. Have probably longer segments. But I think good show for today. Give my quick take on the Clippers. My next show will be my quick take on the Atlanta Hawks and Milwaukee Bucks series. So tune in for that. And tune in for more sports history if you want. If you want more sports history, go to onthisday.com. It's got a lot of great sports histories on what happened in the sports world. So thanks for tuning in, and please tune in for our next show on What's Your Take with Wyatt Spalding.